Hi there and welcome to a new show on the channel called Football Focus. We'll be popping in to games that have happened in leagues around the world, analyze them, and then share our thoughts. You asked for the show, so here it is, the very first show of the series. And we will be taking a closer look at the match over the weekend, that fateful match at Anfield between Liverpool and Manchester City. Before we kick things off, my name is Daljit, also known as Rashidi. That's my handle on the Sports Interactive forums, where I am a trading and tactics moderator. On today's show, we will make a simple beginning by just analyzing the match between two powerhouses of the Premier League. What happened in that game? And later in the show, I've even considered the challenges of trying to get this working in the game of Football Manager. In the future, I have plans on expanding the show, bringing in more guests, and of course, you have the power to drive the show in the direction that you want. So let me know in the comments what you would like us to cover on the show. And on top of that, if you want to play a part on the show, yes, comments below, fill them up, find me on Twitter, and we can take it from there. Meanwhile, your amateur football analyst is now going to take a dive into the game between Liverpool and Manchester City. So what happened on the day? Let's take a look at those lineups. One would think that both teams are playing a 4-3-3, when in reality, City is actually playing a 4-3-3-0, a strikerless system. Now, Pep Guardiola's strikerless system this time around is slightly different from the one he used at Barcelona, where we could expect that wonderful magician to be the one always in that false nine position. But this time with City, different players have been rotating in that position. Little bees that go around stinging teams, and nobody knows who to expect in that position. I mean, at one point, they even had Gundogan playing there. So it's not any surprise to anyone that they would have lined up this in such a way. So even Liverpool, who had their superior possession, couldn't use it effectively. In fact, their attacks in the final third would sputter out each time the ball landed at the feet of Mohamed Salah. Mohamed Salah was expected to do something with the ball. Generally, he scores. But this time around in this match, where we had to run at that defense, or at least, force an overload somewhere on the pitch, it didn't happen. Because each time Salah got the ball went backwards. And it's sorely apparent that Liverpool missed the presence of Diogo Jota, who brings that element of the game to the table. He runs at defenders, forcing them to shift, creating space for other players or himself. Salah, on the other hand, has become more and more like a goal scorer for the team, and the assists have started to dry up, and it was frustrating his teammates as well. City played really well in that game. I mean, Liverpool didn't have a midfield that could stamp their mark and control the match. So whenever they drew that Liverpool midfield higher up the pitch, they would leave that back line isolated. So this is exactly how Liverpool were taken apart during that game. I mean, every time Liverpool's counter press was invited higher up the pitch, space would open up on the flanks. Players like Raheem Sterling would run at the defense. And, within the first half, you would see Alcantara picking up a yellow card, Fabinho picking up a yellow card. That entire right flank of Liverpool, where Trent Alexander-Arnold plays and Fabinho plays, well, you could see Fabinho being pulled out of position either by Foden or by Sterling. And the writing was already on the wall at that point that Liverpool was going to have issues. The XG numbers in the first half showed both sides having a pretty even game. But things changed in the second when Guardiola changed to a strikerless 4-2-3-1, compressing the centre even further. Klopp's counter-press depends on defending sides making mistakes to score, effectively doing away with the need for a creative midfield. Last season, City tried the same plan. It didn't work because Liverpool effectively played a mid-block with a hard-working midfield. This match was going to be different. The Reds didn't have a strong midfield to play the mid-block against City. Jordan Henderson was a major contributor to Liverpool's attack patterns last season. The only players to create more chances than him were Trent Alexander-Arnold, Mo Salah, Andy Robertson, Bobby Firmino, and Sadio Mane. This season, however, the numbers show that Hendo is creating as many chances per 90 as Divock Origi. The absence of a strong midfield is also affecting the output of other creative players in midfield. The Reds' midfield was a lot more lightweight, And with City changing to a strikerless 4-2-3-1, the Reds' attack sputtered out in the final third. PPDA basically shows the number of passes the team allows before they get pressed. City were allowing Liverpool to move the ball up the pitch into a block. City drew Liverpool's press so they could hit them with direct counters with ball played into space. In possession, City were able to stretch the Liverpool defence, thereby creating chances to rip the defensive pair apart. Guardiola had tried the same thing last season, but failed. This time around, Liverpool's lack of faith in their new signings made this match a lot harder than it needed to be. When Liverpool came out into the second half, things changed because City dropped their 4-3-3 and went into a 4-2-3-1 strikerless. In fact, they played two strikerless systems on the day. They played a 4-3-3 strikerless and they played a 4-2-3-1 strikerless. My goodness, this was going to be a classic case of Guido arriving at the feet of Jurgen Klopp and saying, "Hey, I'm playing strikerless against you today." So it was quite a fantastic moment for me watching the game, because I was doing this in the middle of a stream, and as I was watching the match up there on the monitor, I was going, "Oh no, this is I can't believe what's happening today." Liverpool gave up midfield in the second half completely. I mean, Diego Alcantara was taken off, and then we had Shaqiri on the pitch, and that was when I started going, okay, fine, now we really don't have anybody who can win the ball in midfield. That's it. Game over. Playing against a strikerless system is always going to be a challenge, especially for attacking sides, because attacking sides are going to be playing high up the pitch. That's where the strikerless systems shine. They will have space to run into. Now, that was what was happening to Liverpool. Liverpool at times ended up playing with three defenders. One of them was Alisson. So each time Liverpool's attack sputtered, or the transitions failed to connect, there was going to be a direct ball from City's defenders into the wide open spaces that were lapped up by the wider players of Manchester City. Would it have made that big a difference if Hendo and Fabinho were in midfield? I mean, to some extent, City were bypassing Liverpool's midfield completely. I mean, they were non-existent in that match. That's where the problem actually lied for Liverpool. That transition from midfield to attack. The fact that we didn't have a Fabinho or a Jordan Henderson in midfield who could also create chances for them. That was the fundamental issue I saw in the game. So yes, having Jordan Henderson and Fabinho in midfield would have given Liverpool more options from the centre of the park, and perhaps even reduce the burden on Alcantara. Because the moment you take a creative player like Thiago Alcantara and tell him to go out there and start defending, that's a part of the game that changes for him, right? So he has to spend some resources defending instead of looking for chances to create opportunities for other people. Remember the partnership Gerrard and Xabi Alonso had at one point in the Premiership? So these are the kind of things that Liverpool was short of. They were short of that creative center and control of midfield that they just didn't have on the day. In fact, City's strikerless system was pretty good because Phil Foden wasn't playing in one position. He was playing in multiple positions. He could be on the left flank. He could be on the right flank. He could be down in the middle. In fact, he played so well, he kept pulling Jordan Henderson and Fabinho right into midfield where they were not supposed to be in the first place, creating issues for the defenders. And I am not surprised that Phil Foden ended up being the best performer on the day because, he was by a country mile. Going forward, City's biggest challenges are always going to be playing against the low block, because that strikerless system is always going to struggle against teams that don't give it space. Teams that love to counter press like Liverpool do, they're just going to be easy pickings for a strikerless system like the one City fielded on the day. So I'm hoping that Liverpool, forget about winning the title this season and concentrate on making sure they finish in the top 4 position, because that looks like a more realistic target. This City side are strong. Liverpool have, dropped the opportunity to take some points off the league leaders. But I seriously think that right now, Liverpool have got other priorities that they have to focus on. Getting Ozan Kabak into the starting lineup, maybe even Ben Davies, and getting Jordan Henderson and Fabinho back in midfield where they belong. Hopefully, when Diego Jota comes back, we get some of the spice back in our attack. The interesting thing here now, guys, is this. Do you think that Manchester City's tactic can be replicated in Football Manager? Honestly, a strikerless system like that, where we have multiple roaming roles in the final third. To some extent, we can, with some player swapping and roaming setup for the front three players. But we also have to remember one other thing, that if you want to create a strikerless system, the way City played, we have to remember that they swamped Liverpool's midfield. This is a strikerless system that is set up wide. If you look at the numbers from the game, this was Liverpool's whole formation got swamped inside their strikerless system, and their strikerless system was all over the pitch. So you want to be looking at creating a 4-2-3-1 strikerless system with Manchester City. It's going to be something that I plan to do in the very near future. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's show and you found it useful. Now, this show is going to be driven by you largely. Whether there's a second episode or not of this series depends entirely on the reaction we get to the show. If you found it useful, definitely hit the like and please subscribe to the channel, because you might not get notified of shows like this in the near future if you don't, because I think I had 6,000 viewers, unique viewers on one show once, and then we only had a small fraction of you subscribing. So really, it helps the channel out as well, and it drives more traffic to the show. So you are helping me in every way possible. So I want to thank you for joining me on today's show. If you have any questions, the usual places, you want me to cover a new team, do it down below in the comments, and I look forward to doing it very, very soon. You guys take care, stay safe. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.